Welcome to In the Black, the podcast that shines a light on resilience, transformation, and the power of reinvention. I'm Araceli, and each week my co-host Shannon and I sit down with incredible women who have faced some of life's hardest challenges, from personal setbacks to societal obstacles, and have emerged on the other side stronger, driven, and ready to make a difference.
On In the Black, we celebrate these stories of strength and success, diving deep into the journeys of women who turned pain into purpose, adversity into action, and now dedicate themselves to making the world a better place in their own way. They're here to inspire, share hard-earned wisdom, and remind us all, no matter how dark things may seem, life is cyclical and dawn is coming. So whether you're looking for inspiration, motivation, or just a reminder that change is always possible, this is the podcast for you. Welcome to In the Black.
Welcome to our podcast. Today we have Beatriz. She's an author, wellness advocate, and community leader whose remarkable journey exemplifies resilience, transformation, and empowerment. In her powerful memoir, Embody Joy, a woman's journey of reconnection with her body, Beatriz opens up about surviving a brain aneurysm and the deeply personal path she took to heal physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Her experience led her to create Executive Losers, a wellness community supporting senior executives in reclaiming their health through intentional self-care practices grounded in fitness, nutrition, and mindfulness. Beatrice's work is a testament to how vulnerability and holistic wellness can redefine leadership, success, and joy. Her mission is to inspire others, especially women, to embrace their challenges as catalysts for growth and reconnection with their true selves. Welcome, Beatriz.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we are so glad you're here on our podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. I'm very intrigued by your story, and I love the name of your book, Embody Joy. That's kind of, I don't know, the entire introduction. It seems like you have a very similar mission to what Araceli and I are doing. So I'm very, very excited to see how you're pursuing that and the difference that you're making in the world. Now, before your aneurysm, how would you describe your relationship with your body, and what role did wellness play in your life back then?
Well, before my aneurysm, I exercised and dieted, but mostly for the aesthetic benefits. I dealt with obesity my entire adult life. And, I was trying to do it because I wanted the cosmetic changes. I did not feel very well. But to be honest, I felt very disconnected from my body. And actually, right before the aneurysm happened, I started attending therapy, and I was going to a somatic therapist because I was so sick and tired. I had high blood pressure, fibroids, inflammation, a lot of different things that were impacting my body. And I felt that I needed to heal how I was relating to it. And somatic therapy appealed to me because it will allow me to inhabit my body. And I started the journey like right before the aneurysm happened. So it was not a good relationship. We were not talking to each other. Yes, yeah, it was not, my body and I were not speaking the same language, no.
Yeah, that's such a powerful remander too of how important it is to take care of yourself, because as Araceli says all the time, you only have one body.
Yes.
What were some early signs, or did you have any early warning signs or moments of disconnect that in hindsight you may have ignored or minimized?
Well, actually, the book takes you through the journey from when I felt connected, when I was a little girl, and I love my little chubby body, to through socialization and through the hustle coming to the United States as an immigrant trying to learn English and make a good life for myself. I continued to disconnect from my body. Um, when I was in my around age 28 was the first time that I was diagnosed with high blood pressure, and I started taking medication at that point. Soon after, I discovered that I had fibroids, and I was having a lot of very uncomfortable symptoms related to that. and issues around body aches and inflammation. Very close to the time, like probably a year before I had my aneurysm rupture, I had such deficiencies. I had like a B12 deficiency that I couldn't feel my leg, one of my legs. I would touch it and not feel my own touch because I had a huge B12 deficiency. So I was eating a lot and I was overweight, but I was undernourished. So there were a lot of things that were happening with my body that it felt like it didn't belong to me.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing how that can be the story for so many, especially inflammation. I feel like the way that we eat in our society is prone to giving us inflammation anyway, and so when you're not paying attention, it's very difficult to keep that from happening. So, um, when everything changed after the aneurysm, what were your first thoughts? What did fear or surrender look like in those moments?
Well, brain aneurysm ruptures are about 60% lethal, and I'm alive. And if you do survive, the majority of people survive with some type of physical or cognitive deficit. I was released from the hospital cognitively and physically intact. When I understood the severity of what I had experienced, I was in the hospital for 20 days. I had two brain surgeries. When I understood the severity of what I had experienced, I developed a sense of awe for my body. And I could do nothing but apologize for the way I had been treating it. And I told you before the aneurysm, I already was understanding the disconnect, but it became a lot more clear. And I just said, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to honor you. And it started with movement. Movement was the first thing that I started doing every day and just for fun, not because I wanted to have six pack abs, even though the abs did come later. Not because I wanted to have six pack abs, but just because movement felt good. And I started experiencing the mental health and the mood benefits from that. And I was reluctant to lose weight because I wanted to love my body unconditionally. I was very involved in the body positivity movement. But later, my labs revealed that I was pre diabetic and that I couldn't be healthy at the size I was. So I accepted that I needed to lose weight. And for the very first time in my entire life, I found the weight relief process easy because it came from a place of love. Um, the lockdown during COVID was very difficult for a lot of people, but that was the time that I was in the center of my weight loss journey. And actually, it was very good for me because I cooked and I experimented and I made really good, healthy food. And I could nurture myself in a way that probably would have been a lot more difficult if I wasn't working from home full time. So, I started to discover that self care um, is not liking myself. Is actually something that you do out of respect for yourself.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that's so good. That's what I try to help my clients see and embody in some way or another. Shannon said, you only get one body, and it's not about aesthetics or, what the cool new thing is. It's about really being in tune with your body and nourishing it, and not about, like you said, the movement about, when that came out, I was just like, oh no, like this is so bad, because now people are going to think that it's okay to be overweight and obese and unhealthy, and that's a beautiful thing, and it's not, because your health is very, very important to your longevity and um your happiness deep within, and you can't mask that or hide it in any way that we try, or just put a logo up that says it is okay to accept yourself being unhealthy. It's so much more than that. So hearing you say that, seeing the movement now of, okay, let's get away from that, let's actually take a look at like what's actually happening, and let's take responsibility of ourselves, and how we take care and move forward with our body. So that's so amazing that you're sharing that.
Yeah, it is very interesting. When I started my weight loss journey, I actually I was hiding it for a while because I was so vocal, and in the fat positivity movement, that I didn't want I when I felt rejected if I came out as somebody trying to lose weight. But actually, when I shared my journey, everybody was positive and embraced it. And what you're saying, it is really sad. A lot of people in the fat positivity movement, um, the ones that are here and around and alive, are those that have taken measures to take care of themselves. And unfortunately, those that didn't do that, because my crisis was at age 41. I'm 49 now. um, those that don't do that, when you turn 40, the body, starts behaving differently. And what you could get away with at below 40, you can do after 40. So unfortunately, a lot of positive leaders have passed away, including one of the leaders that I was very close to, um, passed away 2 years ago. So it is really sad to see how we can, we think we can get away with it for so long, but then eventually it catches up with you.
I
Yeah.
think this kind of goes back to the self love movement and self care, and how people oftentimes think of self care as, oh, it's a spa day, or oh, I'm going to get my nails done. When if you truly love yourself, if you truly love your body, if you truly love who you are, you're going to do the best that you can to take care of it, to take care of your life. And I think that's where it's gotten a little bit confusing to people, is because they see all of these things that people are doing and they're like, oh, well, I love myself exactly how I am. And that's great. That's a very important factor, because until you love yourself, I don't feel like you have the motivation to do the things that you need to for yourself. But I think a lot of times people mistake surface things for actual truly loving yourself, because you're
Hmm.
going to pay your bills if you love yourself. You're going to do the things to move your life forward if you truly love yourself. You know what I mean? And so I think that that makes such a huge difference, where instead of just being positive on the outside, which in turn studies show can actually create negativity internally, when you have this um, dichotomy between what you actually believe and what you're saying. Um, and so I just think it's really fascinating that that movement has created this space where people are very confused about what it means to truly love themselves.
Hmm.
So
And not to spend too much time about the movement, because I did get a lot positive about it. For example, I used to be part of a dance group that really helped me feel connected and feel good in my body. We would do choreographies, and it was all for large body women. And that was part of me falling in love with movement, and loving my cellulite, and all those things that came as part of that set a foundation for me, um, to love myself unconditionally. So I did see it as a bridge, but I needed to love myself enough to even detach myself from the ideology and be willing to release the weight as part of my health journey.
I like that description of it. I think as a bridge, it's perfection.
Hmm. Yeah, it was a bridge. It helped me a lot with the negative self-talk. It helped me with a lot of things.
Yeah. I feel we find good things out of perhaps not so good things. And the whole aspect of it, I feel like we can always find goodness in things, if that makes sense.
Well, it's levels, It's I guess you could call that self love 101, and then you get to 2.0, and you move up in the ladder of self care, doing more and more for yourself. Like now, I'm a postmenopausal woman, so I may get a couple of half flashes while we're doing this session and this conversation. And the way I need to treat my body today is not the way that I needed to treat it 4 or 5 years ago when I started my health journey.
Yeah, I think going back to neuro linguistic programming, it's about transitioning into the neutral space from a negative space, and then from that neutral space into a more and more positive area of your life. And so it sounds like that's exactly the journey that you've been on.
And the book is called Embody Joy because I call my process of reconnecting to my body embodiment. I did apply a lot of evidence-based strategies to my health and self-care, but I checked in with my body every single step of the way. If they tell you that this type of superfood is good for you, I will try it. But if my body didn't like it, I will not continue consuming it because my body didn't like it. So I was letting my body guide me and let me know what was working for me and what wasn't.
How did your healing journey force you to re examine the definition of strength, especially as a woman and leader?
That is a wonderful question. I think discovering my physical strength has helped me with my psychological and leadership strength. I think when we connect with our bodies and challenge our bodies to do new things, that helps us be able to do new things in other aspects of our life. For example, my day job, I work in municipal government. I'm an executive in municipal government, and after achieving certain milestones in my health journey and running my first marathon, I was able to get a really big promotion at work. And now leading a team and working for a municipal agency that serves over 3 million people doesn't feel that challenging if I can run 26 miles. So through my physical strength, I have discovered my psychological, spiritual, and leadership strength. I feel that it's all connected, and I show up with better posture, more confident. I look really nice tonight because I have a formal event after our conversation tonight, and I enter the room now, standing straight, feeling a lot more confident, with a lot less anxiety, and um, projecting more. I guess I keep using the word confidence wherever I show up.
That's so beautiful. I love that. I feel the more episodes me and Shannon do, the more, obviously, I don't know if you saw, you said you had listened to some of the episodes. Even doing this podcast and having to edit and listen to myself from the very beginning, I just couldn't do it. And now I've gotten to the place of, I guess, more confident and, like you said, loving your cellulite or however you say that word. Now I'm like loving my voice. That's a little extreme. I don't hate it and I don't get embarrassed by it anymore. So I'm like embodying it and I guess loving it more, which in turn I think reflects outward in other ways as well.
And by the way, let me tell you, you have a beautiful voice. You have like a raspy, groundy, and without sounding inappropriate, sexy voice. Without meaning to sound inappropriate, you have a
I
very sexy voice.
100% agree with that. I cannot tell you how many times I've told her that I just love her voice. She has the
It's
perfect voice
like
for podcasting.
earthy. Earthy is the way I will define it. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, you're episode number 33. It's taken 33 episodes for me to finally be okay. It's not terrible. We're feeling this. We're going with this. What parts of your identity did you have to let go of, and what new parts of you emerged through the process?
Mm. What parts that I had to lose a lot of things to find myself. Um, I think I let go of a lot of, in some ways, how I identify myself as the fun party girl, because there were behaviors that were not conducive to my best health. For example, I don't drink anymore. um, I go to bed early. So I had to let go of the party girl, the fun girl persona, which I realized was a mask anyway. And that's another thing that the COVID, the thick of COVID days did for me. I discovered that I really enjoy being by myself and that I was not as extroverted as I thought. So letting go of being the life of the party, the girl that needs, drink and party and have fun, that I have let go. Now I'm the woman that has the mocktails, and goes to bed early. Like tonight, my event ends at 10:30, and that feels like midnight for me on a Monday night. Yeah, now I'm the athlete. I'm the one that, has to do her long runs on Saturday, so cuts her evenings on Friday short. It's a completely new identity.
I love that. A new identity. I think it's important for people to realize that the choices that we make daily form our identity on such a micro level, and I think that's absolutely beautiful. Um, how did your experience from the aneurysm and moving through that and going forward? How did that shift your views on success, especially with you being in high achieving spaces like executive leadership?
It really let me know how the way I treat my body helps me show up. I don't remember exactly in which podcast, but recently I heard something about the 72-hour rule, that if you have a big event, or something where you have to show up as your best self, you have to start taking really good care of yourself 72 hours prior. And I had never calculated that, but it made a ton of sense for me. So now I know that if I had a big presentation last Saturday. So last week I was impeccable with my bedtime, my bedtime routine, my food, my protein intake, my exercise. Well, the exercise I actually made it a little lighter because I didn't want to be too sore for Saturday, because I had some movement in my presentation, because I've been doing a lot more weight training lately. So now I treat my body according to the way I want to show up in life. And I know that I can be my best self and be the most clear headed if I eat a certain way, sleep a certain amount, and move a certain way.
Amen to that.
My body's a tool.
Yeah,
It's my best friend, and it is a tool. And if I want to show up as my best self, I need to treat it really, really well.
absolutely. So, fast forward to you created Executive Losers, a name that's both bold and tongue in cheek. What inspired that title, and how does humor or honesty play a role in your healing philosophy?
I love your question because it shows me that you fully understand what is behind the name. When you use the word humor and tongue in cheek, that you got it. You got it. Sometimes people take the name a little too seriously. So after I went through my health journey, I have a big network of executive women that are my support, and my lifeline many times. Um, at an event where we were all eating a little too much, we were talking about, hey, let's come together and create an accountability group. That was like in November of 2023. So our community, as an organic group, started in January, New Year 2024. And just in the first 3 months of the year, this little organic group that had no real structure helped everybody that was involved achieve amazing milestones. We had members that went from pre-diabetic to healthy levels, that released obesity, that um, had a member that did couch to 5K, had a member that is a grandma and has been able to increase her muscle mass because she didn't have a weight loss goal, but she wanted to be stronger because she has 6 grandkids and she wants to be the coolest nana in the world, and she is. And we just saw that just by committing to each other and supporting one another in a judgment free zone, we were able to achieve great things. So that's where Executive Losers was born. I went for my certifications as a personal trainer, nutrition coach, and wellness coach. And I said, there's something here. They're all C-level, executive level women, and that's how Executive Losers was born. I thought of the name because it was tongue in cheek and funny. And truly, if you want to have a sustainable wellness practice, you need to have a sense of humor, because imperfection is the name of the game. You're going to have bad days, you're going to have weird days, you're going to have days that you don't eat so well. You may take, 3 steps forward and 1 step back. So having a sense of humor and letting go of perfectionism is going to be what really is going to help you achieve your wellness goals.
I love that so much. I think that applies to every area of our life. You can choose to have a sense of humor about it, or what is the saying? You can laugh, you can choose to laugh about it or cry about it. And for me, I think it's very important to choose to laugh about things. And so I love that. And I also really enjoy the fact a lot of our guests have hit on the factor that changing their life came from being part of a community and really connecting with others who are on that same path. And I would just like really quickly for you to talk about maybe a little bit about how that accountability and community and having that helped with the motivation, if you don't mind.
Yes, community, I think, is everything. We're social beings. I lost the weight as part of another community, not executive research because that didn't exist, but because of the lessons I derived from that, I and because of what I saw just by coming together with my peer executives, that validated what community can do. Community, I wouldn't be a runner if I didn't have my running club and my running training group. There's I think it's an African proverb that says if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think in no area that is more true than when it comes to running. When I was training for the marathon, I can do 3 4 miles by myself and have an amazing time. But I think after 5 6 miles, I need to be with somebody else because I will quit. I will quit. I will get, my brain will say, girl, you shouldn't be doing this. And I will quit. But if I'm there with a group of other people that are cheering me on, that are supporting me, and that are going the full distance with me, I'm able to do it. So, community in every single area of my life, even with my therapy. I was going to group therapy for somatic therapy, and I feel like being part of a group expedited my healing. I started with individual therapy, and then I was doing group and some individual sessions. But sometimes we feel that we are alone in our pain and struggle, and when we are able to openly and vulnerably share with other people, we realize that we're just average, we're just normal, we all go through the same thing. We're not so unique in our pain, and actually that's a good thing because it's easier to find a way out.
Yes, which brings us to the podcast, sharing our stories and, shedding light into the power that came out of our struggles. What does it mean to embody joy, not just in healing, but in everyday life? And how do we begin to do that when we feel far from it?
Well, embodying joy is basically discovering that never ending source of joy that exists inside of you by connecting through to your body. I found that any at the beginning, sometimes it may sound superficial that by exercising and nourishing your body and going to sleep early, you can find a never ending source of happiness, but it does, because you can cope with the stress better, you can cope with life challenges better, you become very aware of your resilience, um, you can manage um, the shifts of life better. And if I'm having a bad day at the office, I can go for a run, and I know that in that run I'm gonna first release the stress, second I identify the solution. I cannot tell you how many times I have discovered how to address a situation, um, because I went for a walk or a run. Movement, when my husband and I want to deepen our communication, we go for a walk together. um, Walking together, moving together, and talking, it helps you process whatever challenges or miscommunications you are having. Our marriage is way better now because we move together. Um, and spiritually, I see the colors of life brighter now. I feel I feel more connected to the divine and more connected to other people now that I'm more grounded in my body. I also feel safer in the world. I live in New York City. I am a commuter. I take the subway everywhere. And my family that is not in the city is constantly afraid for me. Oh, you in the subway is so dangerous. But I'm telling you, when you feel strong and grounded in your body, you don't feel that vulnerable. I don't feel unsafe. And if there's a situation that something is happening, I'm like, well, if that gets dangerous, I know I can squat and lower myself and get under that thing, or I can run out of here because I have a body that will respond to me. In the past, if I was in a situation like that, I wouldn't know how my body would respond to a moment of crisis. And now I feel more protected because I feel stronger and grounded. So embodying joy is knowing that you're gonna be okay and that you're protected and guarded by yourself and by the divine in every aspect in every day of your life.
I love that so much. You reminded me of this study that I read several years ago, and I can't remember the source. I'm kind of obsessed with random psychological and medical studies. And so
Me
I
too.
just dig into these weird things sometimes. And they had done a study where they showed violent criminals videos of people walking and asked who they would attack or who they would go after, right? And they all picked the same people. And so they started to study the body language of that and the confidence that came through, people standing up straight, people who just looked like they knew where they were going and what they were doing. Those people were never chosen. It was people who were frightened or looking down or different things like that. And it was kind of the same thing that you're saying. Like when you exude confidence because you know you can take care of yourself, it takes you out of that victim pool. And it's fascinating to me how we can change where we are in our life, who we associate with in our life, all of the things primarily with our body language.
And just so you know, I'm only 5'2", so I'm tiny. But I'm not gonna say that I never feel unsafe, but I don't remember the last time I felt unsafe. And I've been in some situations where there's been people that look dangerous, but they are not targeting their anger or their behavior towards me.
You got me all in my feels with that response with your response. So, what do you say to someone who feels trapped by their body, whether from illness, burnout, or emotional disconnect?
Mm. Well, I was there. It takes time, but the communication, the connection can be reestablished. I actually got a journal and I started writing how I was feeling after certain activities, and that's how I sort of started crafting um, what works for me. And I realized that, as I was paying attention more and more and more, my body was responding better and better and better. It was as I leveled up my self-care, my body was leveling up its well-being. Like I didn't know how bad I felt until I felt better. um, so just slowing down. um, I don't like using the term mindfulness because I feel like mindfulness takes you to the mind. That's why I love using the term embodiment. Slowing down, sensing your body. Somatic therapy helped me a lot because when I will share something, the therapist will ask me, "Where do you feel that?" And I will say, "I feel it in my stomach." "And what are you feeling?" "Oh, I feel a tingle." "What else do you feel?" "I feel a little warm." And I will connect the emotions to a specific messages from my body, and that helped me. I learned how much of a people pleaser I was. There was one day that I discovered how a subtle no felt in my body, and when I discovered that, I started crying because I realized how many times I felt that and I pushed down because I didn't want to disappoint somebody. It was like, Oh, that's what a strong no. You know what a strong no feels like no, but like a subtle no, like somebody says, "You want a piece of cake?" I'm sure, but you feel like you're really not hungry. You don't want it. You don't have to say yes. You feel that little thing there, but you just push it down because you don't want to disappoint that person that is offering you something. So when I discovered how that felt like, I started crying because I kind of like had a flashback of all the many times that I felt that no and I didn't say it. So learning how to own my no and my yes was also a big part of my embodiment process.
Mm,
So
that's so
well
powerful.
spoken and described.
As recovering people pleasers, because I'll speak for everybody on this also. Yeah, learning to say no has been probably the most challenging part of my journey because I have been programmed since birth to do whatever I can to keep the peace and make sure that everything's okay. And oftentimes that means not listening to those no's. And yeah, that's so powerful. Ugh, I kind of feel a little emotional now.
Mhm.
So just looking back, do you see your brain aneurysm as a beginning for you?
Definitely. I definitely see it as a beginning. And no joke, it's on the book. I had my first group session. Like I told you, I started with the individual sessions and then I started doing the group therapy. I have my first group session the night before my aneurysm rupture. That was a Tuesday night. I had therapy on Tuesday, and the aneurysm was on a Wednesday night. And I remember when they asked me what was my goal for the group and participating in the group, I said, I want to be more open minded and I want to feel more connected. And be careful what you say because God may take you literally. Being more open minded meant like literally having my head cracked open and more connected. I was visited, thankfully, it was before COVID. I was visited at the hospital, I would say in those 20 days, by over 100 people. And I felt so loved and cared for. So many people were praying for me. I'm going to cry. Um, I felt so loved and I understood the type of value I brought to the world. It was, you know, people talking to me about when I listened to them when they were going through a divorce, or somebody I helped with homework in grad school, or like different things that I did for people that for me were not a big deal, and how they felt connected and supported by me from those things, and how they were there for me to support me. And yeah, my aneurysm was definitely a rebirth. As I get further away from it, sometimes I forget the lessons. Um, but I try to remind myself, like, um, you have a new chance at life. You have the opportunity to do things differently. You don't, I pull back into the patterns of people pleasing or other behaviors that weren't, um, that are not the best for me. And yeah, it was a chance to do it all over. And it really gave me that opportunity. And it was a very sad and difficult time for my family and for my husband. But this is going to sound weird, but it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
I often talk about the best worst day or the worst best day. And so for me, I had a traumatic brain injury in 2013, and I call that my best worst day because to all outside factors, it looks like it was the worst day of my life. I ended up in an ambulance. My husband went in the back of a police car, and but it started my life over again, and it allowed me to create a life that I love and to learn that we are able to create our life. We don't just have to settle for it. And so I love that you just referred to it almost identically.
Yeah. And like now I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of not living enough. With sometimes I have to be careful because I try to do too many things. But everybody who I know, because became very connected, I'm a community person. I became very connected to survivors of aneurysms, and everybody that I have that met, whether they have a physical or cognitive deficit, they're extremely driven. Like it does something for you that you want to squeeze as much life as you can. One of my friends now just got married and is having a baby, and he's traveling the world with his new wife, and it's just such a beautiful thing to see people just living to the max, not trying not to waste a second.
Yes, absolutely.
What message do you carry forward from it now?
My message, I will say, is what I sign on my book when I do book signing events: befriend your body, unleash your joy. When you make your body your best friend, joy is right there. It was interesting. I did a book event recently, and I used that phrase, unleash your joy. And the person that was interviewing me said, what about surrender to joy?" And I'm like, "You're right, because joy was always there. I just needed to surrender to it. I didn't need to find it. It was there. I just needed to surrender to it."
Oh, I love that so much. I adore you. I'm so thankful that you came
Thank
on
you.
our podcast today. So we talk about how being in the red is like in a negative space in your life, like having that aneurysm and being physically unhealthy, definitely a negative space, but you've created something so positive out of it. So if you were to look at that and you were to think about being in the black, which is the financial term for being in the positive, what does that look like in your life today?
Mm. When I was in the red, I was tired. I was bloated and had tons of inflammation, pain, horrible long periods. I had a lot of conflict and miscommunication, not only with my body, but with my loved ones, with my mother, with my partner. Um, I had a lot of insecurity. Now that I'm in the black, my relationships are stronger, deeper, more beautiful. I have a body that is responsive to me. Um, I feel more connected to others. I feel more confident when I enter any room, and I'm less afraid. I'm not saying that I'm 100% there, but I'm less afraid to to say no and yes, to the things that really matter.
Oh, I love that. Man, that's so good. So, where can our listeners find you?
Well, you can find me on the socials, and IG is a Beatriz underscore health journey, and almost all the platforms. My company, Executive Losers, you can find those on LinkedIn, IG, and Facebook, and our website, executivelosers.com.
And where do you see executive losers, or where do you see your future going into?
Well, I love my job, so I'm not thinking about releasing the day job, but I'm actually executive losers. We are using technology to support the community. I have my AI clone that it's still in the beta phase, but have downloaded all my certifications and training into my AI clone, and we're using AI tools to provide support and guidance to the members, and we create a container for the women, the executive women, to interact with each other. Right now, we have over 73 women engaged, and my goal is to serve 1,000 executive women that prioritize their health, 1,000 a year, and that prioritize their health and you know thrive in life and in career, and have the level of joy that I have been able to identify through connecting with my body.
Awesome. Is there anything that we missed that you would like to share on the podcast, that you want us to ask you? Or
Well, actually, my book Embody Joy is available on Amazon, and a portion of the proceeds of the book goes to the Aneurysm and ABM Foundation. They are a wonderful institution that does education and advocacy, because unfortunately, there's very little we know about aneurysms. Um, I could have had mine. I had two, but only one ruptured. That's why I had the two brain surgeries. I could have had mine for years and just not know it, because it's kind of a silent thing, but once it ruptures, especially if it's in the brain, it can be lethal. So they do research, and also they have a lot of support groups for survivors and their family, survivors and families of people that have been impacted, whether they're still with us or not, by aneurysms.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. We definitely appreciate it. You are just a beautiful soul, and I'm
Thank you.
so thankful we got to meet you today. So,
Thank you so much. This was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of In the Black. I hope today's story left you feeling inspired and reminded of the incredible strength that lies in each of us. Our guest today has taken her toughest challenges and transformed them into something beautiful, reminding us all that even in the darkest moments, there's always a way to find light in the world.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe and share In the Black with another woman who could use a little encouragement. Together, we're building a community of passion, purpose, and power. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and remember, your story matters. Your choices change things, and being your most authentic self can and will change the world around you.